What if everything you thought you knew about Africa was wrong? What if the history books deliberately left out the most important parts? Here's a truth bomb: the Atlantic slave trade didn't just steal people. It destroyed entire societies, and millions died before they ever reached a ship. We are talking about a continent, vast and diverse, home to civilizations, migrations, and trade empires long before Europeans arrived. And then, everything changed. The 16th century marked the beginning of almost 4 centuries of unimaginable horror, the Atlantic slave trade. European powers, driven by greed, set in motion a system that would forever scar Africa and the world. It wasn't just about taking people. Between 15 million and maybe as high as 50 million Africans were forced into slavery. But the real number is likely far higher. Why? Because for every person who survived the journey across the Atlantic, countless others perished on African soil, during capture, imprisonment, or forced marches to the coast. Millions died before ever seeing a slave ship. This pre-ship mortality is a hidden holocaust, a demographic catastrophe rarely acknowledged in its full magnitude. The impact ripped apart families, destroyed communities, and destabilized entire regions. West African societies were particularly devastated, their social fabric torn to shreds. It wasn't just a moral failing, it was an economic engine. The slave trade fueled the Industrial Revolution in Europe. Fortunes were built on the backs of enslaved people. Think about that: the wealth of nations was directly linked to the suffering of millions. Then, in the late 19th century, came the scramble for Africa. European powers carved up the continent, drawing arbitrary borders that ignored existing ethnic and linguistic boundaries. This wasn't about bringing civilization, it was about resource extraction and exploitation. Colonial rule transformed African economies, turning them into suppliers of raw materials for European industries. The consequences of this history continue to resonate today. The borders drawn by colonial powers are still the borders of many African nations, leading to ongoing conflict and political instability. The economic structures put in place during colonial times continue to shape patterns of trade and development. The legacy of slavery and colonialism is not just a historical footnote, it's a living reality for millions of people of African descent around the world. So, why was this history buried? Because it implicates powerful nations and institutions. Because it challenges the narratives of progress and civilization that have long been used to justify Western dominance. Because acknowledging the full extent of the damage requires us to confront uncomfortable truths about the past and present. But the story doesn't end there. The African diaspora, created by the slave trade, has enriched cultures around the world, while maintaining ties to the homeland in music, religion, and identity. From the blues to Black Lives Matter, the echoes of the past resonate in the present. Africa's story is a story of resilience, resistance, and enduring cultural strength. It's time to rewrite the history books. It's time to face the truth about what was done, and who benefited. It's time to understand how the past continues to shape the present, and what we can do to build a more just future. What will you do with the truth?